Okay. Let's see here. Oh.
LX Films presents True Stories, narrated by Jim Harris.
I begin with a true story. I'm a truck driver, and back in April 19th of 2017, I was in New York State. I had just left Springfield, New York. I was on State Route 219 heading north towards Buffalo, New York. As I'm going up the road, I heard this noise. You ever have a campfire and you can't quite get it going, so you begin to blow into it and you hear this. Well, that's what I heard. I heard this sound like a campfire being blowed on. I thought, what in the world is that with all the truck sounds going on? And I looked in my mirror, both mirrors, there was fire coming off the top of my truck on both sides. I thought, what in the world is going on? So I pulled the truck over to the side of the road. It's a 4-lane highway. And I was at mile marker 22/2. I still remember that. As I pulled over, I jumped out. I grabbed the fire extinguisher, and on top of the truck, not on the bottom, not on the side, but on the top of the truck, it was on fire. So I climbed up there as close as I could get, took my fire extinguisher, and began to try to put it out. But I tell you what, with this small fire extinguisher, as big as this fire was, there was not a chance of putting that fire out. So I jumped back down, got in my truck, I grabbed my phone, my wallet, and my headset for my phone, and I grabbed my thermos. Why would you grab your thermos? So I jumped out on the road and I called 911, and I said, we've got a truck fire. And I began explaining where I was at. They said somebody has already called it in and help is on the way. So what could I do? So I stepped back from the truck and I'm watching the top burn. And repeating, it's burning from the top down, an unusual situation. Had to wait maybe 15 minutes because between Springfield and Buffalo, New York is quite a distance. So when the fire department shows up, by this time it's really engulfed. And so as they begin to show up, I backed off. They began to try to put the fire out. It was really burning good, and we'll show you pictures how bad it really was. And then the detectives come around, and they began to ask me, hey, what happened? I said, it caught on fire on the top, which was unusual. And he kept asking me what could be on top to make it catch on fire, and he was asking questions the way that like he was seemingly accusing me. I'm thinking I must be interrogation here or something. He come around 2 or 3 or 4 times and asking the same questions over and over, and I kept asking or answering him everything, the same answers again. So finally he stopped coming around. And so after a couple hours, I mean, this fire, it had burnt down from the top all the way. It didn't get to the fuel tanks, but it was close. It burnt the truck up. It burnt underneath the bunk. It was a complete loss. And finally, when the thing got done, and by the way, it was cold and rainy. I didn't have no coat on. And so I asked could I get in the car. They put me in the back of the sheriff car. Of course, I couldn't get out. It's like out my Creedmoor or something. Anyway, when they let me out, they come to me, and the detective did. I said, listen, I really want to get my Bible. Now, let me stop right here. When the fire had started, after I called 911, I had called the office, couldn't get a hold of Wyman, my boss. So I called Kylie and got a hold of her. She's the office girl in our department. And I said, my truck is on fire. And so she would spread the news to my boss, etc. And by the way, she went to my son. My son works in the plant because once this news got out, it was going to the plant that there's a truck on fire. It was Jim Harris's truck was on fire, and my son worked there. So she went to him and says, hey, listen, Brian, just letting you know, your dad's truck's on fire. He says, is he okay? So, oh, no, he's fine, but I just want to let you know before you find out through somebody else. In the meantime, Wyman, my boss, had called me. I said, Wyman, the biggest thing I regret is I forgot it and left my Bible on top of the bunk inside my truck. He says, Jim, it'll be fine. I never thought too much about that. So anyway, when they let me out of the sheriff's car, the detective come to me and said, listen, I really like to get my Bible. He says, everything is toast. I said, well, at least let's go look. So he went down there, and he wouldn't let me in at first. And he climbed up in there. This truck is completely burned out. Nothing left of it, down to the metal. And I said it was on top of the bunk behind the passenger seat. So he found another book that was all burned up inside page one, but it was in bad shape. He said, I can't find it. I said, let me in there. So I climbed up in the truck, and sure enough, right on top of the bunk, behind the passenger seat, was my Bible. It was in the case. Now the case was all burned, so we'll show you pictures of that too. It was stuck, so I had to rip the case open, and I pulled out my Bible. And there was my Bible completely intact. As I got it out and come down, it was burnt on the edges a little bit. When you see the picture of this truck, what happened is unbelievable except for the power of God. When you look at the picture, the exhaust pipe, which should have been pointing back towards the trailer, somehow it had gotten turned, maybe through vibration or whatever, was actually facing the top of the tractor. And with the plastic top and the heat of coming out of that exhaust pipe, that's what caught it on fire. And back to the Bible, when you see the pictures, you can see the case that was all charred, it's vinyl case. And then you see a little pink thing on the right top corner, that's candy. And the next frame you'll see is where the candy, when it's unzipped, did not even melt. It was sticky, but it didn't melt. And then when you open up the case, the pins was in there, a little bit torched, but overall it come out, but the Bible's doing fine. And so when I got out, I said, I found it, and here it is. And he didn't say nothing, and it still hadn't dawned on me what a great thing had happened, because this Bible that was inside of a truck and a vinyl case burnt down to the metal actually survived. Now it smelled like smoke. It had a little edges burnt, but I tell you what, I've been using it ever since, because there's a God in heaven who his word is more important than anything else. And I begin to tell people, you've got to get the word of God in your heart to keep you out of the fire, because there's coming a judgment day, and the only thing that's going to do us any good, that's going to last, only if we have the word of God in our heart. And remember, the word become flesh, and Jesus Christ is the word of God. When we know him in a personal relationship, that makes all the difference in the world.